really, really hard and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
Trust.
He's pretty
Big trust. Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.
We're back on the Jumbo Set podcast. It is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. Never forget, September 11th. My name is Jake Louque, and I'm joined on my screen by Spenny, home opener. How we doing, pal?
Doing quite well. Like you said, never forget 9/11 was a very formative time in our childhood. And something I know most of our demographic is around our age for the most part. And I'm sure everyone has their own unique memories. Would love to see in the comments kind of where you were, what you were doing. I remember I was homesick from school, and my mom started screaming, "We're being attacked. We're being attacked." And I didn't know what that meant. I thought she meant like the house. I was in third grade, I think. So I thought like robbers were coming to like kill us or something. I started freaking out, and she was very frantic. And she hates when I tell the story. She listens to the podcast, so she'll hate this. But she calmed me down with a swift smack to the face. She said, "Calm down," and smacked me in my face. And I was like, whoa, okay, I guess we're not being robbed here. Went downstairs to go play some sort of like fish game on the desktop for a while. She went and had to pick my brother up from high school. He was still in high school. So that was my memory of that. But very, very weird time in our formative years.
Yeah, I was like just old enough to have achieved like cognizance, so it's a very faint memory for me, but I remember like not really fully understanding what was going on. I think I was in kindergarten. Shout out to Sacred Heart. And yeah, I think we were like having a class party that day or something. It might have been like a back to school type deal. We get pulled out. Parents were still working or doing whatever, so I went over to the neighbor's house and watched the coverage unfolding there. Again, really just no idea what was going on, and it's interesting to listen back now. Because like I talked to my mom about it now, and she was like, yeah, like I was thinking like, are we going to have to like run? Like, what are we going to have to do? Like, are we going to have to go up to like my parents' house in Maine, or her talking about her parents, like do that kind of thing. She was like, well, that goes through New York. So she was like literally like planning all this stuff out. And I was just sitting there probably like sucking my thumb or just doing something very stupid, having literally like zero understanding of what was going on. It probably took me even a couple years after that to fully wrap my head around the fact that it was in fact a terrorist attack. So yeah, interesting note to start the show off on, but you gotta, you know, if we're going to release a show on that day, you gotta kind of bring it up here. So yeah, I mean, again, interesting thing to look back on for sure. And yeah, you know, funny that that's where we are now in society, that's like a lot of kids' first memories, it being one of mine too. So yeah, very weird time. You're right.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Yeah, my mom was trying to plan to go to West Virginia for the same reason. I remember that. So
that would have been a good spot, I would
right,
think.
Right, escape. But still, kind of have to cut through DC. Who knows what's going on if everything's out there. Yep. But yeah, so we'll always remember what happened on 9/11 and everybody that unfortunately lost their lives and gave their lives trying to help people. And I've got a lot of buddies up in Jersey, New York. It was definitely way more traumatic for them, and they had friends, had family that were involved. So hearts go out to anyone who was involved. Again, comment. Would love to know where you were, what you think of, things like that.
Freedom Tower, by the way, freaking awesome building.
Very cool. I got to see it maybe 5-6 years ago. Very cool. Very cool.
I biked past it the other day. We did that whole biking thing on that bachelor party. Got to see it from a distance. I've been to it a little bit up close. I was more like, it was more when it was being built, the like time before I went, and you got to see like the memorials they have of like the two kind of, you know, just holes in the ground. It's very moving sight, and I think they did a very nice job with it.
Certainly. So 9/11, 2024 snuck up on us here. Very much so. Heading into Q3 coming up. Ravens season opener against the Chiefs. We did the instant analysis. We get on afterwards. Everybody's hot and steamy, and we do our best to kind of stay cool for the most part. And now we get to come on, have our Ravens therapy, our cathartic episode, and we have some
for a loss as devastating as, you know, that kind of technically is if you look back on it. I think that was one of our more level-headed ones. I don't think any of us had anything to drink really, or we were just kind of, you know, I think we were pretty sober of mind for that one.
Certainly. And we both ended up predicting the Ravens would lose a close game there. So kind of played out in that same vein. And it was just hard, you know, when Isaiah Likely's toe is an inch away, it's hard to walk away feeling that mad. And it's not like they were disqualified from anything. They have their entire season before them still. So there's always the proverbial like, oh, it's better to lose now than lose later against them if you see them again. So Roquan Smith said he'll see Peyton Hendershot. He'll see him when he sees him.
Yeah, and you got Isaiah Likely saying, hey, if that's the best they got to offer, then we'll steamroll them next time. Yeah.
I mean,
no, I don't know, man. You didn't even cover the spread. So, like, okay, but
they almost did. They almost did.
They almost, you're right. They were a toe away from, tying it up or not tying it up and then going for the win there. So it's true.
Yeah.
You had that good tweet, a fingernail away and then a toenail away with the tips kind of going for Justice Hill. I think that was running to the end zone. I think it might've been Chanel or one of those linebackers gets a paw on it and then Likely a toe away. It's wild. Wear white cleats next time. Mahomes was right.
Wear white cleats. So from that game, there's been, a little bit of fallout, but nothing too crazy. I think the NFL slate coming through and all the sloppy, gross football we saw was a nice elixir for what that game was. And these two teams I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. They were clean. They did a fine game plan. We're going to get into some tape later of what I saw in the Chiefs offense. We saw the Ravens have a pretty clear intention with Derrick Henry. He didn't quite get going maybe the way they had hoped in week 1, but I really like the usage. I did put out a YouTube video. Go check that one out. I'm sure it's in the related videos somewhere, left, right, up or down here. But really like the usage. Was really encouraged there. We'll get into all of that. But it was not the sloppiest football on earth from the Ravens. It felt sloppy. It was week 1. It was in Arrowhead. They do have some new starters. It's loud there. All of those factors. But the Chiefs are clean, man. They were a pretty clean operation for the most part. People upset when I say that maybe about the illegal formations, which we didn't really see any of as the slates progressed through Friday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football. Didn't really see anyone else get dinged the way that one Ronnie Stanley did. So a weird little occurrence there about that one. Who knows if we'll see any of that again? Just felt a little funny. So that was a fun thing to look back on and just laugh about a little bit. Like, oh, of course, they're just going to call illegal formation every single time. But yeah, looking back on this game, it makes sense why it played out the way it did. And I think the 30,000 foot overview thing that stuck out to me is what I just said. The Chiefs had a clear and defined game plan. They attacked the middle of the field. They used Rashee Rice, got him on linebackers, and continuously attacked the middle of the field. They have a really nice end around play. I think that Kyle Hamilton blows a coverage late. I am going to place the blame myself, my interpretation on Hamilton. Maybe, Humphrey could have realized what was happening, but it was too late by then anyway. So just a couple mistakes. The Ravens just made it hard and the Chiefs made it easy. And that's why the Chiefs are so good. They play no nonsense, common sense football.
That's exactly where I come down on a lot of this. Like I see a lot of, not even just from Ravens fans, but I think just people across NFL sort of Twitter in general saying like, oh man, how does this keep happening to the Chiefs? They're a toenail away from losing this game potentially. How does it always go their way? People would say the same thing about the Patriots. It goes their way because they hit the layups every single time. They hit Rashee Rice against Malik Harrison a few times. Couple 20-yard gains. It probably results in a couple scores from them. They hit the easy touchdown to Xavier Worthy on the busted coverage. They just hit the layups, man. They do it over and over and over and over. And it's not going to go your way every single time. But when you're that operationally clean like they were and that impressive, I think procedurally, that is going to go a long way towards winning you a lot of ball games. And I think the Ravens, to your point, deck was stacked against them a little bit by the officiating early. I think that sort of proved its weight in gold throughout the rest of the slate, as you said there, but they also shot themselves in the foot a few times, and you just cannot afford to do it against the Chiefs because they have the best quarterback, they have the best coach right now, they have the best tight end, I think by a significant margin for all three. And all that confluence of factors, plus the fact that they just do the easy stuff and they make it look routine. Whereas on the other side, the Ravens, I think maybe they're biting themselves or, kicking themselves a little bit or over the easy ones that they didn't hit. The margin of error is going to be, it's going to be much larger for the Chiefs because they take care of the easy stuff so well.
They do. And they create more layups. They make the layups, but they also create more layups and they play football. There was a couple things they did. One of them, Isaiah Pacheco drops a pass in the honey hole between Malik Harrison and Marlon Humphrey. Humphrey does come up and hit him. Maybe if Pacheco corrals that quickly, he can make Humphrey miss. Sure. But they play off of that later. They use that motion 2 more times without the intention of throwing to Pacheco. It gets the defense to expand. Pretty much all of what they wanted to do the entire game was attack the middle of the field. I think Malik Harrison got a little too much heat for that one Rashee Rice rep. Isaiah Pacheco did diamonds on me dance on him in the open field at one point on just a little like leak out release into the flat. Definitely shook him out of his shoes. He also shook Trenton Simpson. He shook a couple guys in the hole. Just a weird player. He does moves that people usually do with pace at full speed. Like his jump cuts will go like 1, 2, go. Like there's no delay. There's no patience to it. He just
he runs like Jerry Seinfeld after he stole the marble rye off the old lady. That was a comparison I had been looking for all night, and I finally connected on it.
There you go. Runs like Jerry with a bag of marble rye. So, I think Harrison took a little bit too much heat for that one. He played it effectively. I have the clip. He played it, both of them, effectively as well as Simpson did. Mahomes just threw a perfect ball over his fingertips, and it was pretty much the same. Simpson kind of grabbed around the back. We'll look at it later, but those are kind of things. So with that, before we get into maybe some of our segments we had planned, Lamar Jackson missed a practice on Monday. They said he was sore. It looked like he was running around the facility laughing and smiling at picture day or whatever the hell was going on. I don't know if that was the same day or not, or the social team posted it or what, but yeah, Lamar missed a little bit of practice. Sounds like Kyle Van Noy, obviously with that orbital, hopefully, I don't know if it's a fracture, orbital bone injury. I know that the common
fracture was the initial reporting. I haven't seen much on it since then, so I'm still not even sure.
Yeah, it hasn't been placed on IR. Again, I know that's a very painful injury. I know a couple people that have fractured their orbital bones playing some footy football. But relatively clean bill of health other than that. Can't be too mad. John Harbaugh had some comments that, he thought the offensive line played okay, that they're not aiming to get Derrick Henry 30 carries a game necessarily. So people are having fun with that one. A couple other comments, whatever. He didn't want to comment on Lamar Jackson missing practice. So everyone's like, why is this my head coach? Why won't he just tell me the truth? Which, who cares about you? Who cares about us? But all weird stuff going on a little bit, but I don't know, all quiet on the Eastern Front. I get the Raiders coming to town. So I think people are probably not going to be quite as interested. I'm sure if you're going to the game, you're very interested. It's still early in the football season. You're interested, but not a game that's going to draw as much attention with the Bills coming to town for Sunday Night Football. Not too long from now, they play the Cowboys next week. Got some other fun games headed around. So weird game, weird elixir. Elixir I've used twice now in this podcast. I guess that's the word of the podcast, but something to wash it down. Nice glass of milk to wash away Patty Mahomes will be Gardner Minshew.
I hope so. I mean, Minshew, last year, he came into this building in a Colts uniform, and let me tell you, that game was in hand 6 different ways to Sunday, and the Ravens find a way. I will be picking the Ravens to win this week, spoiler alert, but, weird things can happen. So you gotta take these games one at a time. Can only play who's in front of you on the schedule, and let's keep that in mind as we go into the Gardner Minshew-led Raiders.
We certainly can. So with that, wanted to do kind of overreaction, underreaction, something we think people are overreacting to, as Tutu's just fussing up a storm walking around here.
He's all sorts of active tonight. What's going on?
He is. He ate a bunch of food. He probably has to go out. But yeah, overreaction, underreaction. Wanted to get into what we thought maybe people were overreacting to, or we feel like we're overreacting to, things like that, as we're able to come back level-headed on the jumbo set. So why don't we start out with a little overreaction here?
What did they do to us?
Yeah, so my overreaction, and that's our overreaction soundbite.
What did they do to us?
My overreaction, actually not even really Ravens related. It is a little bit. And really, I was overreacting, and I think I owe you and Sam Schwartzstein a little bit of a mea culpa. I feel like these kickoffs are a little more dynamic than I was giving them credit for. I think I was having a little bit too much fun on the Thursday night game and, of course, the Friday night game down in Brazil. A lot of kickoffs out of the end zone. I was a little skeptical, but there was some dynamism. There was some real dynamics with this kickoff on Sunday. That Bills game, there was one. I think I saw a few others that were getting a little bit active. So I enjoyed the dynamic kickoff this past weekend. I'm not fully all the way around on it. I still don't know that I fully understand it, but that's me. That's my mea culpa. That's my overreaction. The dynamic kickoff might actually be dynamic.
DJ Dallas housing one for the Cardinals there was tons of fun. Dead radio for a second. Tutu's got to go outside. He's just going nuts in here. But yeah, the dynamic kickoff certainly was dynamic. I'm fired up about it. We also saw the fact that teams were penalized for kicking the ball not into the landing zone. And if you fall short, then the ball comes up to the 42. The 40 also, TOO too, I mean there. So that was fun. That happened in, I believe, the Bengals. No, excuse me. There's a Browns-Cowboys game. They tried to pooch one, left it like 2 yards short, and can't do that. No, bad. So that was certainly fun to watch. I felt dynamic watching all the dynamic returns. And who would have thought 2 games was not enough of a sample size to say that the dynamic kickoff was a big failure. I think we saw 34% of kicks this week get returned, which is up from 21% last year, which was the lowest it had ever been in NFL history. At one point, I want to say in the 90s, it was a 78% kick return rate. I think the NFL might like to get that to about 45-50%. So maybe they move it back 5 yards again. I would like that. I'm okay if they don't. It's not the end of the world, but I mean, that means 1 out of every 3 kickoffs is getting returned. That means you see, maybe 3 a game, 2 a game, something like that. Maybe more in some games, maybe less in others, which is all right. But it was fun. It was fun to watch, especially red zone. Bop, 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 bop. They were coming out left and right when you've got the multi-view. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. And again, mea culpa on my part. I did enjoy that aspect of it. Like I said, we'll see how well I'm able to come to understand it as we go forward. But wait, even if I didn't understand fully what I saw, I enjoyed it. So that's my gift to you, is that this new kickoff may actually be dynamic. What's any overreactions you're looking at?
I'm a Zin guy now, by the way. I just got into him hardcore this week. I just want to
look at that. Look at everybody's coming around. Gentle spin, getting around, popping in a little lip cloud there. What do we got for overreaction?
Overreaction for me. What did they do that? Probably. I still don't feel like he did play this amazing game, but Mahomes had really nice ball placement a couple times when you go back and watch. I mentioned the Rashee Rice against Malik Harrison. I tweeted that he basically, did nothing. And he had one nice ball fake. Roquan Smith still got his hand on it. He was good. He was evasive. He made plays. He facilitated the offense. And he resets and throws so well, made guys miss, reset through. And I think that's, again, I feel like I'm going maybe since 2021. So I guess this is year 4, where I just feel like the only thing I don't like about Lamar Jackson's game overall that is a continuing theme is that when he gets hit in the pocket early, it becomes my protection sucks, which it does. And I'm not going overreaction there. Cole and I were getting into it. He was like, pass protection's fine. I was like, no, fucking wasn't. Lamar's just running.
It got better in the second half, but I think also that was a function of the fact that Lamar was reacting to how bad it was, and then he started to kind of create on his own a little bit. And I think that probably even helped them out. So
it does. And that's what happens. But there are opportunities to make a defense be more honest. And he lets, again, JT O'Sullivan does this whole hour-long review of Lamar. And I can't remember, one of the accounts I like, it's like a nameless, faceless account, said, great. Now I think it's like Alec Marsh or something like that. Maybe it's like, great. Now I get to watch an hour-long video of JT O'Sullivan saying Lamar, the most twitchy athlete to ever play the position, is too toesy in the pocket, which, like, of course he's toesy because he is explosive, which makes sense. JT O'Sullivan also made good points in that, where it's like Lamar comes out, his feet are so wide, he's so smooth, he's hitting the top of his drop at the right time, his eyes are in the right places, ball is coming out pneumatic like a machine. The strip sack happens, another pressure happens, and then he's hitting the top of his drop, drifting, moving around, and just kind of loses that feel to be able to be the distributor that he's capable of being. We see him miss some throws. He tries to float one up to Likely, and Bateman misses both of them when they kind of have a one-on-one going over top, some of those things. At the end of the day, it didn't matter that much. Lamar had a chance to tie the game. He puts a great ball on for Isaiah Likely, and I don't want him to take too many hits early in the pocket. We've only seen him get hurt really from the pocket. Against the Broncos, he gets fucking rocked and derails his season. But again, my overreaction probably was Mahomes was good. He was good. I would have liked to see Lamar that's kind of the pressure, right? The pressure that you talk about sometimes, the pressing. Lamar's pressing. Mahomes isn't quite pressing. It never feels like he's pressing. That pick he threw to Roquan, sure, that was early though, but he just stays in the flow. Lamar starts to press a little bit, misses a couple opportunities, and they have to press at the end. So Mahomes stayed cool, put on some really nice balls, like I mentioned, over the middle, and you just felt the plan for the Chiefs. You really felt the plan. You felt the game plan. And there's a lot of talk right now about identity. And what is the Ravens' identity? They're asking Harbaugh that. And he's like, it's early. We'll see. I mean, the identity for the Chiefs was the game plan. The game plan was to spread the field wide, use motion to elongate the defense, and then throw the ball into space in the middle of the field. That was their identity in that game. The Ravens, I would say the identity in that game was kind of just being diverse offensively. Let's run Henry here. Let's run play action off of it. Let's go 11. Let's go 21. Let's go 12. Let's go wide. Let's go tight. Let's go power. Let's condense. So I think it was kind of being unpredictable. And that's the word that I heard Harbaugh use in a press conference, was being unpredictable. So being unpredictable, as we had two Jakes for a moment there floating in the
My internet keeps dying here. I hope this does not affect the quality of things, but you can talk for days, so that's good.
I never heard you lapse, so I think we're good. But identity of the Ravens was being multiple. The identity of the Chiefs was the game plan, and the game plan, which I said we'll get into. So that was my overreaction. Mahomes was good. He understands the game plan, understands how to manipulate the defense in order to do so. It's Brady shit. It's Brady shit, right?
And he had a couple Mahomes plays too. He spins out of the sack on 3rd and 16. Kelsey is just doing a jig and jag and jive against whoever's covering him and finds his way open. He has a couple of those, and then he hits all the layups. He combine that, and you're walking out with a loss every single time.
Definitely. As for underreaction,
get down, try less, do it again. Do less, get down, try less, do it again.
Do less, get down, try less, do it again. Thank you, Kunu.
Pop up.
No, don't get up. Don't do anything.
I don't feel that I overreacted at all about Falele, and I'm going to throw Voorhees in there. It's game one, so I get that, and that's why I don't feel like I'm overreacting. I can't tell you what Andrew Voorhees is good at as a guard. I can't. There was one rep of Falele where I was going to post it. It like was stupid, kind of. I used a level, and I could see that Falele's helmet was the lowest of all of the helmets in pass pro of the offensive line and the pass rushers. He bent his fucking knees. That's the issue. Get lower. You can get wider. He's so big, and he does have good balance. Especially through contact. If you go at his chest, he can, like, you can cut his arms off, and he can still kind of stop your momentum. That's kind of his foundation. I guess I can say that's what he's good at. I just really don't see it looking clean for a long time. 5 games, 6 games. And I don't think I overreacted about that. I think that is still an underreaction. I didn't love what I saw, and there were some okay reps, but some of it was just stupid shit. Like one of them, Tashawn Wharton, who had a really good game. He's one of those short kind of nose guards that's like 6 foot, kind of like Michael Pierce. It's really tough to win leverage against someone that's short like that and has that kind of power, and they don't have super short arms or anything. It was a slide. It was a half slide. They left Stanley on an island, and Voorhees just goes through the motions. He just slides right and lets Wharton come back across his face, rip across, probably should have been called for a hold, makes Lamar Jackson leave the pocket with a quick pressure. It was blocked up. Like it wasn't like a single block. It was just going through the motions. Those are things that you can get better at. I don't expect rookies on the offensive line. I'm counting Voorhees as a rookie. Falele, not a rookie, but it's a new position. Maybe Falele can adapt in that sense. He knows what to do, I think, a little better. Voorhees can catch up. I don't know. I just don't really see it being a strength in pass pro. It's not something that's easy to hide. A guard on both sides. I thought Linderbaum did have a really nice game. I thought Stanley had a really nice game. I think McCary was fine. Not in the run game, but in pass pro he was fine. And it coincides with what I just said. If Lamar feels that pressure early, then it turns into that backyard football of I'm doing one read, I'm taking off, I'm toesy, I'm bouncing, I'm drifting, my mechanics aren't consistent, all of those things that we've seen pop up. So I am still pretty frustrated with it. I don't think that was an overreaction. I think it's still maybe even an underreaction. And then ESPN pass block win rate comes out, and it's like, oh, the Ravens had a great pass block win rate, and PFF said they had the 8th best, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, man. They were doing simple things with no brain. Like there's just no brain yet. Inexperience you can chalk it up to, but I don't know, man. I am not excited about this upcoming set of games. We see Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins. We talked about it last time. There's a slew of talented fronts that the Ravens have to play over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, no, and we've been talking about it literally since they traded those guys away. That's been my concern all offseason. I know you've had it on your radar too. That's just that's going to be the breaks with this offensive line, with the fact that they're this is a little bit of a transitional year. We see Kevin Zeitler having a decent game with the Lions the other night. Jets fans getting a little excited, a little hot in the pants about John Simpson and Morgan Moses. I think the jury might still be out on those two after what we saw in San Francisco. But overall, I mean, you take at least one of those guys and their competency over what you have with some of the uncertainties elsewhere along this offensive line for sure. And it's just going to be a process. It's going to be a growing process. They lose Joe D. They hire George Warhop. Like it's going to be, they're building the plane as it takes off. And there is going to be some uncomfortability with it. And I think we're going to see that with Lamar Jackson. I think we saw that with Lamar Jackson with the broadcast catching him kind of laying into those guys a little bit. I don't think you talk about him going Super Saiyan a little bit. I think that was kind of maybe the first time we've really seen it in that sense where he's, saying, yo, guys, like we gotta pick our shit up here. Like we are not, this is not some kind of, handshake opening kind of easy par 4 week 1 game. This is the tops of the tops and we're going to have to play better. And like I said, to their credit, I think they were better in the second half, but overall it's not going to be pretty to watch, I don't think, in certain instances. And there were definitely plenty to lay your eyes on in game 1. For me,
Do less, get down, try less, do it again.
so my underreaction, probably, appropriate reaction. This defense, I think, was exactly what I was expecting, which is to say that I think they executed pretty well. I think you make the point that it's Roquan Smith's defense just as much as it is Zach Orr's. I think we saw a lot of that. I think there was some good communication there. It was nice to see Roquan get the pick. Pass rush did pretty much what I expected them to do, if a little bit better, with David Ojabo getting in there and getting the sack. Nice to see him get off to a good start, but some really positive plays there. With Trenton Simpson, I thought he looked really good. He saved the game on that 3rd down. You talk about hitting the layups. That was one layup Mahomes did not hit, where Mahomes, attempts to pass there. Trenton bats it up, and then Mahomes obviously makes the catch of the year per Chris Collinsworth and, saves that one from turning into a disaster for them. So, yeah, a lot of good, a little bit of bad as well, some miscommunications. We obviously saw that on the second Worthy touchdown. We saw them all kind of over pursue on the first Worthy touchdown there. And ultimately, this is another one that's kind of a work in progress, but they're pretty much there, right? And they're pretty much where you would expect with this talent level. And it sucks to see Van Noy get hurt because I think he was looking good at certain points early in the game. But overall, it's just kind of, you're down a Jadeveon Clowney, you're down a couple of guys, you lose a Patrick Queen, not much of a great loss there, I don't think, with the way Simpson looked. And overall, it's just another one that you're going to have to kind of see them grow a little bit. But for the most part, they're pretty much there, and they just need to iron out the communication stuff, and I think they'll be fine. So this defense, like I said, it's pretty much exactly what I expected. I'm sure you probably feel pretty similarly.
I do. And we can get into the film here in a second of the defensive side of the football, when I talked about the Chiefs game plan. What the Chiefs did was stress communication from the Ravens defense in bunches and sorting bunches, the point man, and then the inside and outside leverage and how they want to communicate those. There's a couple that the Chiefs didn't get to as well, where the outside guy runs a crosser or the inside guy runs a crosser, the outside leverage corner has to try to chase from outside leverage. You're going to win unless the corner makes a well above average play that got away. I want to categorize as well. I'll throw this into maybe an underreaction of the defense in that, is that I said this to Cole and you, and maybe this is an overreaction, but I'm glad the Ravens drafted Nate Wiggins. It is week 1, so that's why I feel not great about it still. And Marlon Humphrey, talked about playing lighter, and it was a lot of mental stuff. I just don't see the same player that I saw a couple years ago in terms of explosiveness from him, which means he needs to be more crafty. He has less margin for error. He can't make mistakes. And I just don't see the physical dominance. I saw some of the physicality kind of setting some edges, things like that. I really think playing nickel so much made him a different player also. I think he is maybe best used as a nickel. A lot of these situations, and I'm really glad they got Nate Wiggins, who is crazy explosive, to kind of maybe segue. Marlon's talked about playing some safety and doing some of those things. So I'm expecting to see more Marlon in the slot as the Ravens grow confidence in Nate Wiggins, maybe a month from now. I think Marlon's still a perfectly capable cornerback and a good player. I just don't really think we're going to see him be dominant the way that he was a few years ago. It's a different defense, right? He was dominant in Wink's defense. He was dominant press man, dominant in physicality, and being able to recover really well when he was in trail technique, some of those things. And again, there's still plenty of time. He can play into shape. He can get more confident. They can communicate cleaner, give themselves more confidence through communication, all of those things. Ultimately, I mean, Kyle Hamilton had a kind of a rough game, I want to say, to his standard. Also, some of the that end around you mentioned where Worthy scores that first touchdown. I went through it like 10 times. I was like, who fucked up? Who fucked up? It was a really well executed play by the Chiefs. Their offensive line kind of sold it and got out pretty quick. The Ravens weren't in a great spot because it was kind of that wind back motion of a blocker winding back to get a numbers advantage. And the only player I didn't feel great about, there's two instances. One was a big Rashee Rice gain where Mahomes pump fakes, floats it over Roquan Smith, who gets a fingernail on it, alters the ball, not enough though. And he just took a bad angle. A couple of plays there, we'll see. He missed some time from the knee. So I'm looking at those two guys. I think Hamilton will be back to being an alpha very soon. Made some good plays as well, fit around the box really well. But again, the Chiefs offense is a great break your shit week one opponent so that you quickly can communicate throughout this week and moving forward who needs to go on bunches and passing off or not passing off, getting right pre-snap, all of those things. And it'll be harder on, let's say, the Raiders, who are going to have to do it in a loud environment on the road versus, the Ravens. It was quiet. The Chiefs offense was going to be humming, and you hope that transient property allows units like the Ravens offensive line to play better there. So I think that was some good hashtag discourse from us. And yeah, overreaction, underreaction. I think we're going to try and do those on these jumbo sets every week. I like that idea. What were we maybe too hot about? What are we feeling like people can cool off on, or that we were maybe kind of noticing or right about? So I like that segment.
Yeah, and I think it worked out well. And I think in this case, like I said, I think I wouldn't say we're necessarily 100% bang on with everything we said. I know I probably said some dumb shit on Thursday night. I know you maybe had a certain take about a guy, a big ass number 95 that I think some people were a little hot in the pants about. Who's
a great player. He's a Hall of Fame player. I don't know. I just am not like, he's disruptive. He's an impact player, but it's like, he is, and you still fucked up. Like, they made it easy on him at times.
Yeah, that's true. And Roger Rosengarten just getting absolutely sent into, sent Toadash, just sent into another dimension there on his first ever snap. I mean, that's kind of like, what are you expecting to happen there? Like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes on that.
It was interesting on that one too, because Lamar, it looked like they were going to run the ball, and Lamar killed the run into a play action, and it was wide open. Zay Flowers was maybe a house call if Lamar gets enough time to get the ball off. He had 5 yards of separation. There was a receiver downfield, and there were two defenders ahead of him that weren't looking at him. It was man coverage. So, I love Lamar checking into it. You expect that to be blocked up. You expect to really have a double team on Jones there, which was interesting. So I thought that fit into kind of the video I did of Henry's usage and some of those things. But yeah, well said. And we'll give Rosengarten all the time. Again, I never expect a rookie offensive lineman to play well. The Chiefs left tackle didn't play well. He got a holding call. He got beat cleanly a couple times. I knew that the Ravens also knocked the snot out of Mahomes. They knocked the shit out of him 5-6 times. Madubuike hit him so hard, not even on just the roughing the passer one. His hand did get high, hit him right in the face. They're going to call that. But
overreaction by me, by the way.
It was, I mean, it's just one of the ones.
I might have sent out a 180 from
a little dink to the face. He smacked him in the helmet, and they threw it, and it's like, that's bullshit, but they call that.
I mean, they didn't call the Roquan hitting him out of bounds, so it kind of, all this stuff just sort of comes out in the wash.
Yeah, it was fine, and the illegal formation stuff didn't impact the second half, and it was a close game, so whatever. It was all fair and love and war in that game. But yeah, I think all of those are week one things. Some of them might be month one things, first quarter things. And speaking of the defense, I want to get into the film here. Just running through the Ravens schedule, like we said. You got Minshew, You got Dak Prescott. I'm putting in the green flag. Dak Prescott in the Cowboys offense. CeeDee Lamb. Josh Allen, I'm going to throw in there as a green flag. We'll give Joe Burrow that as well. He'll probably be a little bit healthier maybe with Chase holding out and Higgins hamstring. We'll see what happens with that. I'll throw the Bucs as a green flag. I mean, they've got the weapons. They seem to be in a good spot, not to the Chiefs level. Other than that, you got Jaden Daniels, whatever the hell the Browns are trotting out, Bo Nix, Burrow again, the Steelers, the Chargers, who knows what they'll look like by November 25th when they play. I'll throw Jalen Hurts and the Eagles into green flag category just, for the sake of it. Daniel Jones, the Steelers again. I'll throw the Texans into the green flag category and then the Browns again. Like, you're not playing the murderer's row of quarterbacks really this year. Most of your tough games are now with that. So I think this defense has a lot of room for improvement. With that, wanted to kind of hop into the film here. So if you're not watching on YouTube, feel free to come back, come watch it. We're at the 36-minute mark as we're getting here. How do I get? I'm going to orient myself here for one quick second. But like I said, not really murderer's row. I'm going to slide to my other monitor here. And yeah, Minshew and the Raiders. I don't know. I don't really trust their offense to execute consistently at a high level. Minshew can make some of those off-schedule plays, all that good stuff. But with that, let's kind of hop into some of this tape, which most of the focus here, as I pull it up, is going to be the Chiefs just wanted to attack the middle of the field. The Ravens play too high stuff. They really wanted to attack the middle of the field. Here on this first one, it's a bunch. Rashee Rice is going to pop out. This is interesting to me, and I'm going to pause it, and I highlight Roquan Smith because it looks like he's just running to a landmark. This is really early in the game. This pressure kind of look, this mugged up look, the Chiefs knew exactly what it was. They knew exactly who was coming, who was going. Sometimes that can be who's leaning. You can see the running back here kind of pointing at it. And it looks like Roquan just goes to a landmark. And we're going to see, again, Rice is going to come out, pop back across, and just have a nice, easy gain. They're just throwing the grass. He expands, runs underneath with the picks, and wide open. Bam. Nothing crazy. You talked about layups, Jake. That's a layup, right?
And that's what I talk about, too, with like wanting to see more of that from the Ravens offense, which obviously we'll have plenty of time to get into that. But I think back to the Steelers, man, back in the Roethlisberger heydays, like it would feel like they would just draw up plays in the dirt. 3rd and 6. I'm just going to quick little pop pass to Heath Miller, right? He's in line and he's just getting off of it. Quick catch. He runs 2 yards. It's 3rd and 6. He gets these 7 yards. And this is a little bit more different than that. This is obviously much more drawn up in the playroom ahead of the game. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. Just hit the layups, make the clean, crisp throws and just kind of let your guys execute in space. And when you do get those favorable matchups where you get a Rashee Rice versus a Malik Harrison, even versus a Roquan Smith, and you win those every time, you just, like I said, you stack a bunch of those and you're probably going to win a lot of games.
Exactly. Next one here, same deal. We see Rice on the outside, runs underneath, runs under Marlon Humphrey, who was inside. That's what I was talking about. Humphrey has that leverage, gives it up quickly. That's his job was not the flat. Roquan Smith isn't there. There's just this big void. And part of this is the Ravens keeping everything in front of them, which they did the entire game except for a mistake. We can go rumble to the next one. Big void in the middle of the field. You see Rice. He's going to run one of his 6 little option choice routes, whatever you want to call it. This one on Roquan Smith, he runs like a jerk there. He pivots outside, opens up inside. The space, the ball is perfect from Mahomes. Easy gains. These are all in the first quarter. Easy gains, moving the ball, attacking space. And it was a nice route that's tough for a linebacker to defend. I don't care who you are, maybe Fred Warner. We do see Trenton have a nice one. It was a good route. It was a good.
It literally looks like in soccer, like when a striker is one-on-one with a center back, and just it's a big center back like Roquan would be, and you throw one little jab step and then you're gone. Like it's all like, and that goes back into them playing a different sport, whether it's basketball or soccer on grass. Like they just have this mind meld going on where it's like, I put my foot in the ground, I go this way, you got me wide open, let's take the easy one.
Definitely. Here, I love this play. This is the sack that Ajabo got, his 3rd career sack. I accidentally tweeted first. I don't know. I have the Bengals one, whatever. So what we see is Hamilton. That looks like man, right? You immediately see Hamilton move with the motion. So with that, I'm thinking, oh, the Ravens are going to play either 2-man, which I did the highlights of. I'll bring it back with the arrows here. Okay, they're either going to play 2-man or where the safeties go straight back, or they're going to drop one of these safeties down into the hole. The other one's going to play the post. And it's not. It's cover 2. Kyle Hamilton's going to bail out. And you see Mahomes' brain just break on something simple. Kyle Hamilton runs the middle of the field between the safeties. It's not man. It looks like press man everywhere. It is Tampa 2. The corners are in zone. The safeties are in zone. Mahomes is like, oh, shit. And Travis Jones and David Ajabo just collapse together. I want to see that as a duo. We talked about maybe Queen last year and Matabike. I want to see that be a duo. The yin and the yang of Ajabo and Jones able to get those 2-on-2s, run some game, things like that. And Travis Jones just bodies Tooney, who's maybe now the second highest paid guard, doesn't even have hands fit, just runs right through a mofo's face. Ajabo, kind of what you want to see from Owe at times, right? He understood where Mahomes was. That was the key. He understood, I have to win into the quarterback. I can't just beat my block. I have to beat my block at the quarterback. Sack. That is how a sack happens. So
and it reminds me a little bit. That reminds me a little bit of the one time that they did beat him, where it was all that talk of in 2018 when they had lost to him, and 2019 to a certain extent, where Wink was just, I'm just going to blitz the hell out of Mahomes, and we're going to win by it, and we're going to die by it. And that very first matchup, Lamar versus Mahomes, Mahomes breaks out of a bunch of blitzers. He got CJ Mosley covering Tyreek Hill one-on-one. That is how you lose that game. And then I think about the one time that they beat him in 2021, and there was a lot of talk coming out of that game. Mush rush. We're going to drop a bunch of guys. We're going to rush 4, and they didn't always win with 4, but they were just dropping guys and saying, hey, Mahomes, like throw it into this window, throw it into that window. And a lot of the times he executed, but he threw a bad interception in that game. I think he did run into a couple of sacks, and ultimately their offense had a great performance in that one, but the Ravens, like I said, they found a way to win that one. So
exactly. So I love that. Here, this is where my overreaction was me thinking Mahomes didn't really have a great game. Just a quick little ball fake. And this is where I circle Kyle Hamilton. He gets stuck with the ball fake. Mahomes, we're going to see in-breakers. We're going to see him pump the first in-breaker. We're going to see Marcus Williams. He's coming down. I guess I didn't look. This was either cover 1 or cover 3, some variation. It's a single high coverage. But we see Hamilton in the post there. Williams and Roquan both jump on it. And again, Rashee Rice just sneaks into that huge patch of grass, and Hamilton kind of caught flat-footed. Hamilton missed in a good spot. His help, everything ended up being, and he deterred Rashee Rice's pass so that he couldn't just run straight to allow the cavalry to come pick it up. But here we'll see Mahomes ball fake and just moves it. And you can see, I slow this one down. Roquan just barely grazes this football. You can just barely see a little glimmer change in the flight path. You can just see a little, just kind of took it off of it. Maybe that is what ended up messing Hamilton up a little. Who knows? But I thought that was, again, where's the grass? How do we get the receiver over these linebackers or to the middle of the field? Rashee Rice was awesome after the catch. Pacheco was really dynamic in space as well. Just another explosive gain. But the ball wasn't thrown over their head, right? They kept it in front of them, kind of. Hamilton did enough to keep it from being a house call. So you live to die another down. Rice is fired up there. That's what I mean. What is the identity of the Chiefs? It's the game plan. Now, here we get some candy. This kind of reminds me of the go-go offense a little bit. We got the 2 tight ends over here. We got the back in the backfield. So we're going to see all the Ravens kind of shuffle that way. All the routes are going to end up being on the right side of the field, except the backside dig on the top of your screen. I think that's Justin Watson. Mahomes does end up giving a little shimmy shake here to Broderick Washington in space, and we're going to see him just find Watson in that void over and over and over again. Fakes him, cuts up field, knows where he is, throws the ball so quick, gets it into that space nice and cleanly. There's no panic here with pressure in his face, nice and calm, gets it done. Just an awesome play by Mahomes. All of that was just candy, right? All of this is just candy to open up the middle of the field.
Yeah,
Didn't
and
matter
open
where
it
they
up
were
for Watson, who you're not looking for as a defender, to open it up for Noah Gray, who you're not looking for as a defender. That's where, like I said, having the best quarterback, the best tight end, the best like all this stuff, and Rashee Rice and now Worthy and Hollywood is going to get in the mix. Having all those guys opens it up for guys that you're just not expecting as a defender to just be wide open like that.
And that's the cool part, right? I mean, they wanted to work Rashee Rice because he's the explosive, tough, bigger one that is, more dangerous than Kelsey and catching the ball and run.
Yeah, he's very dangerous.
100%. One of the more dangerous guys in the league. I would say maybe top 10 receiver after the catch. That's all he did last year. So now what do we see again? 1, 2, 3 to the top, to the field, to the boundary. It's all spread. What does that do? Vacate the middle of the football field again. Now they get Rice matched up with Simpson. And what I love about Simpson, if you recall that Roquan rep, is that Roquan bit. He bit on the movement. He bit on the, whatever you want to talk about. Oh, keep an eye on their hips, things like that. He bit because Rashee Rice laid down a nasty route. Simpson here let's watch him just stay flat-footed, stay neutral, and wait until Rice committed. He gets a hand on him. He gets physical with him. He cuts the distance down. The move has to be quicker. He has to get sharper on his break, more flat. And we see him initiate a little contact, wrap his arm around, and poke that one out. Awesome, awesome play. But again, Chiefs attacking the middle of the field. You're able to live with that one. Slow it down a little bit. We see Simpson just get his arm around. Has a long, long, long arm. Super athletic dude. He's a Swiss Army knife, man. He can do it all. Curious to see what he can do as a pass rusher as the season goes on. But that was a good one there. Let's skip forward here. So that rep there. Now, if you recall, I didn't show this play, but Pacheco does this motion. I can't remember what they're called. They just have the running back start moving straight out. They expand. It's the 49ers. It's the Dolphins. Andy Reid does it a good bit. And now they're like, oh, shit, here it comes. Malik Harrison's on the field. He already lost to that once. And they're just going to run a screen right up the middle. Again, eye candy. They already beat you once with it. They didn't end up catching the football. But all of this room, you're in the red zone. Look at the middle of the field. It's vacated, and your linemen are selling it. They're downfield. They're ready. Creed Humphrey's so good, man. He is under control. He's under his skis. Lets Roquan kind of commit and just come to him, adjust, doesn't lunge, any of that. So here, you basically score a touchdown on this play, more or less, because this quick little screen goes and gets you all the way down. Chiefs end up scoring as a result of it. So just a really nice job continuing to force communication, force you to, as a defender, Owe kind of, he tried to wait. He just couldn't wait quite long enough. He lost patience there. He couldn't quite tell it was a screen. It was a well-run play. They had a freaking few of these nice little dinky-dunky plays. This is how the Chiefs offense kills you. You talked about Watson. We talked about Noah Gray. Again, Malik Harrison lined up where Trenton Simpson was. What's the difference? Simpson was a little closer to the line of scrimmage to try to force that to be flatter instead of letting him get to the grass. So that's the only difference. It's the same route, the same thing. And Harrison honestly makes a good play here. What did I say about Simpson not committing where Roquan did? We see Malik Harrison. He sits on it. Pause. He sits right down and just stays nice and level. He makes contact. He reaches across. He hooks it. It is just a perfect throw and catch. Perfect. I'm not mad at Malik Harrison at all for this rep whatsoever. I think it's a good rep. He could reduce a little bit. Maybe he's not quite as confident as Simpson is in space. I don't think he is. He's not as dynamic of a mover like that, but he's right fucking there. And the ball is perfect. Right into the fingertips of Rice. There's not too much mustard on it.
It's
I
the
think this
margin
is a
of,
good rep.
it's the margin of difference too. I mean, the Simpson one that you already showed, it's literally a finger, like, you know, again, it's just a finger's difference. Simpson
It's
batted
like a
that one.
hand. Yeah, it's like a 1 foot difference here.
And that's what we talk about. Game of inches. If you win by inches a couple of different times, you put yourself in a really good spot. I'll just keep harping on it, and the Chiefs do it every time.
They do. And the Ravens, the one time they beat them, they got that fumble like you talked about. Here, we're going to see that same kind of motion, right? And so, to me, we're going to look at I think this is Eddie Jackson back here. He takes this 45-degree angle. That tells me it is cover 2. Cover 2 means you take a 45-degree angle. Cover 4 means you drop straight back. If it's cover 3, you're dropping straight back as well into the third. I think Kyle Hamilton blew this one a little bit. I think they saw that eye candy. I think they see this motion coming. Maybe they just, didn't communicate. Kyle didn't get the call, whatever. But it's that same kind of motion, and they just leak out. It was just 2 plays. It was just the end around in this play. Everything else that the Chiefs did, you kept in front of you. You mentioned, Jake, the Mahomes play running around to Kelsey. We looked at the one where he makes Broderick Washington miss. It's just these 2 plays. These are the 2 plays where the Chiefs beat you, and it was walk-in touchdowns. I mean, what did the Ravens have to do? That's the end of my kind of defensive clips here. What did the Ravens have to do to score? Isaiah Likely had to make an amazing play. They had to sustain a drive, get into third down, pulling. And I'll even say I'm wrong here, because the Lamar runs that they had, especially on that early touchdown drive, those were those walk-ins, those layups, those 10, 15-yard gains, right? But the Chiefs just made it really easy for themselves. They attacked the middle of the field. They got receivers on linebackers. Mahomes threw some really accurate balls, and they just put nice window dressing on everything. We talked about that little go-go where you get to that backside dig because everyone flows to the 4 to the field. So it was a nice game plan. And that's why I think, like Isaiah Likely's comment, he plays offense, not defense, but they didn't do anything. The end around, I'll give them the end around. The end around, I don't even think the Ravens could have defended. I genuinely don't, from where they were lined up. I think it was perfectly blocked. It was timed. It was disguised or hidden or a surprise. So I thought that was a great play call. It was well executed by the players in week 1 of the Chiefs offense. But I'm really happy with Zach Orr's defense. I'm really happy with what I saw. It was a little plain Jane-ish in ways. It wasn't, this insane stuff with the mug, Patrick Queen and Roquan mugged. And then, they both drop all that kind of stuff. We didn't quite see that. They did a good job just keeping the ball in front of them, save for that blown coverage deal, which, maybe it's Marlon. Maybe I'm wrong and it's Marlon. I don't know. To me, it looked like it was cover 2 and Hamilton just kind of got caught with the window dressing. But again, a really nice game to break your defense, break your communication in terms of how do I need to play these situations, these bunches, these motions, all of those things going against Andy Reid, Mahomes, and the Chiefs offense in week 1. Going to be a good thing. Going to be a good thing for this defense as they continue to learn.
Yeah, Ravens offense versus their defense too. Their defense was super impressive to me. And, we talked about Henry and the fact that they seemed very keyed on that. They clogged the middle lanes. They were not going to let Derrick Henry beat them in this game. But those individual plays, that 4th down play, I think of Jalen Watson, I think of Trent McDuffie, and I think of Justin Reed coming down and sticking guys where maybe in another game, in another universe where this game is played, you have an arm tackle or you have a slip or you have a broken tackle and you break that one for a big game. But those guys were just so solid in how they executed against the Ravens in those one-on-one situations. That's another one where it's like, you really just got to tip your cap. I mean, that's just excellent job by Spags and his crew, because those guys just came ready to play in every facet on their defense. They were not quite ready for the Lamar scrambling show. I don't think you want that to be your game plan every week if you're the Ravens anyway. I think I said in the post game that if Lamar plays like this every week, then they'll be in a good spot. I think I saw a comment that said, well, you don't want him to play like that every week. And I wholeheartedly agree with that comment. I was just kind of saying that with Lamar's decisiveness and the fact that the scrambling looks so good, if you can dial that back like 50% and then have the passing game be a little bit more open and get into a more positive game script, I think you'll be in a good spot. But overall, it's just, I don't know, that felt like a really, really strong performance by the Chiefs defense too, and you got to give them credit.
Yeah, certainly. Mahomes threw one ball over 20 air yards, and it was 21 yards on the touchdown to Xavier Worthy. So they kept everything in front of them. Chiefs were clean, though. It was kind of a game where the Ravens had a little more tough going. It was on the road. It was week 1. It was, the opening game, the jitters, all that stuff, some newer players playing, a new defensive coordinator. So defensively impressed, offensively. My biggest takeaway from the Ravens offense was that they gave you nothing to go off of. Like, the Raiders have nothing to go off of. And I did that full video on Henry. I don't feel like pulling the clips up. Go watch the YouTube video. But 12 personnel, ran the ball through play action, screens, reverse, end around, or not reverse, end around to Zay Flowers. They ran play action to Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, both using Derrick Henry. They ran the ball in the goal to go situations, the power situations, meaning 3rd or 4th and short, really well. Henry looked really patient. And I after the game, we can put this in the overreaction category of myself, is I was like, yeah, they didn't I was like, they didn't use shotgun effectively to run Derrick Henry. They did. And Lamar had a ton of control at the line of scrimmage. We talked about it in the preview. I anticipated him maybe trying to do a little bit much. I don't even know that ended up coming to fruition, but it was tough.
And the fact that it opened up Lamar in the read option, you highlighted that in the video a little bit. Some of those runs were pretty key on that first drive too, in particular, where he kind of pulls it down. Everyone keys on Henry. Lamar follows a couple blocks. I think it opened it up really well, and I think that was hopefully a sign of good things to come.
It was. I just want to see, if I had to say, what do I want to see next time against the Chiefs or in a do-over? Just trying to push the ball down the sideline a little bit more than the Ravens did. The Chiefs are clogging the middle, all those kinds of things. People are like, oh, Lamar can't throw this, can't throw that. Again, I think it has more to do with him just staying cool. Once he's been pressured, he ends up floating some nice balls. He ends up missing a deep one to Bateman where he could have just ripped it. He doesn't. Likely has a one-on-one, but it's still not layups, right? They're still defended. They're still covered. So takeaways is just getting cleaner out of the bunch. And in some of that quick pass stuff, I mean, Mahomes is better at that stuff. That's it. He simply is going to be. Andy Reid's better at it than Todd Monken. But the Ravens ran the ball pretty well. You look at Henry's stat line and you're like, oh, well, it didn't do anything. But I liked what I saw a lot.
They had the game plan that we talked about on the preview. They had the game plan down. Like, they were breaking the line with 20 seconds left on the play clock, and then they would run it all the way down, and then they would snap it. They were trying to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, and I think that manifested itself a little bit negatively, where later in the game it felt like they were trying to do that, but the calls weren't coming in. The Lamar's trying to make a check at the line, and you were getting kind of some of that late period Greg Roman kind of frazzled stuff, trying to snap the ball. But overall, that was their plan, and I think it kind of came to fruition pretty well. Mahomes did not see the ball nearly as much as I think he could have been dangerous with. If he had two more possessions, this could have been a little bit uglier. So,
yeah, the Ravens defense did a nice job. I'd say in the second half, they, seceded the run game just a little bit. Isaiah Pacheco had a couple carries, like a 9-yarder, 8-yarder, a couple of those. Travis Jones, Michael Pierce, Broderick Washington, physical in there. And tough game for those guys. Van Noy goes down. They decided to keep Urban inactive for this one. They wanted to have more DBs active, I guess maybe more special teams players. I thought it was a sharp performance by the front in many ways. Owe was really good against the run. Ajabo, they do a good – Ajabo is a tight end beater. He's not a tackle beater in the run game. And I think he maybe took a little bit of flack considering where he's at health-wise and experience on the field-wise. Doesn't look like a rookie at all, I would say, especially considering when they drafted him, where he was as a run defender and coming off the field for Michigan in that loss that they had. So was pretty impressed overall with Ajabo, with this unit. Ardarius Washington looked good. Marcus Williams, I thought, looked great. A lot of the plays that were decent gains for the Chiefs, Marcus Williams ended and came down and fit. Eddie Jackson fit really well against the run. I want to see Eddie Jackson on the football field. It's tough. You want to get Washington on there probably. He's working that nickel, that slot, made the nice play against Worthy. But I want to see Eddie Jackson on the field when you think teams are going to run the ball a little bit here, have Hamilton kind of walking on that vertical. If you think it might be neutral, maybe Hamilton towards the slot there, Eddie Jackson, Marcus Williams, let them kind of fit. Like Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams in tandem a lot. I think that's an underrated duo in terms of experience. And Eddie Jackson just doesn't have a lot of pressure on him in this secondary. Brandon Stevens, they didn't even fucking target him, man. I mean, they didn't look at him. There was a bunch to the left, and they ran Worthy out under in like a mesh kind of deal. And Stevens had to chase from the backside. Worthy gets like a 10-yard gain. And then Mahomes ran around for 15 seconds. Travis Kelce eventually got open against Stevens, but can't cover Kelce for, 6.5 seconds, something like that. But really impressed with this unit. I'm excited to see what Zach Orr can do moving forward. If you're not presenting issues like that and the Ravens are at home and it's loud and you're not getting into your checks and they're getting a little bit more exotic because they know you can't check out, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they can do. So Van Noy, a big loss. I thought he played really well. He is a selfless pick setter in the stunt game and those TE stunts and all that. Matabike, I mentioned that big hit he had aside from the roughing the passer. Van Noy just crashed into the line and got Matabike free, and he knew how to angle it, how to set that screen for Matabike. So Matabike quietly has a little half sack there. Guy might get some sacks again, man. He looked pretty strong too. So Travis Jones, Michael Pierce, Justin Matabike in the middle. Broderick Washington, I thought, played well, like I said. So I'm fired up for this unit, fired up to see what Zach Orr can do. You don't feel like there's been some big fall off. And when we went back and when we look at the Roquan and the Malik Harrison rep against Rashee Rice, I mean, again, I think that Harrison rep was pretty solid. And Roquan kind of got a little bit. The first one, he wasn't even on him. He was just dropping to a landmark. So it was a good game plan by the Chiefs. I wish they could play again in like a month. Like I wish, like almost Madden style, you could see how the Ravens would respond and what the Chiefs would adapt their game plan into based off of that. That would be a lot of fun. If they're like divisional opponents, you could see them 8 weeks from now or something. But man, might happen again in the playoffs. Obviously a huge game. We did a huge jumbo set here. What else comes to mind now, Jake, after this game and moving forward?
I think enough on the game. Maybe we could whip around the AFC North a little bit. You got a gift there in Cincinnati, them losing that game to the Patriots. It's one of those ones that I was keeping my eye on, and it's just kind of you thinking, all right, well, they made that mistake, but they'll figure it out. You make that mistake, you'll figure it out. But big loss for them to take to the Patriots. Everyone making the point that they always suck in September. That's certainly true. I do think they'll probably turn it around at some point. They'll be fine long term, but again, that's a gift, especially with all the mess Bengals fans were talking after that Thursday loss. I think they were a little bit quieter after taking the L to Jacoby Brissett. Browns losing to the Cowboys, that didn't really shock me. The way in which it happened shocked me a little bit. Sean Watson, man, he looked bad, and more bad news coming out about him yesterday. We'll see what happens with that. No room really to speculate. Not really sure, but I think it might be best for the entire league if that whole experiment comes to an end sooner rather than later. And then Pittsburgh, this your guy Justin Fields. This redemption story might be setting up for him pretty well. He goes into Atlanta, gets a win over the Kirk Cousins led Falcons, who looked just as listless as they did last season, and then it sounds like he's going to be starting again next week. So Justin Fields and your Pittsburgh Steelers topping the AFC North right now at 1-0. Rest of the teams 0-1.
One of my favorite moments of that Steelers game was, and he ended up I think having a sack late, and he recovered. I can go down a whole thing, but TJ Watt jumping the snap. He said to the media that the ref told him after the game that he actually regrets making that call and that he wasn't offside. I was like, okay, Watt.
Of course, TJ Watt. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Kicking down the door when he was offsides. They showed it on the fucking replay. He was offsides. He jumped the snap early, but it was that defense had a strong performance. Fields not throwing the ball over the middle of the field, and it's ironic. I mean, Arthur Smith. Something he did really, really well, throw the ball over the middle of the field in Tennessee. We see into the Falcons. They kind of can't do it all of a sudden. The weapons there, the backs are good. You got quarterback run game, and that's all you need. How did they win the game? They didn't turn the football over. They ran the ball well enough. He made a nice throw across the field off of I think it was maybe a boot, and then like a throwback to Pickens on like a poco route, like a post corner or post pylon. And makes a big play down there, gets him down in scoring position. Chris Bodwell kicks 6 field goals. That's how they're going to do it, man. That's how Tomlin wants to do it. For all the humming and hoeing about Harbaugh, I feel like Tomlin is like an honorary Harbaugh almost. Like what Jim Harbaugh does, running the ball into the void for, the entire first half, getting nothing going, and then eventually wearing the team down. Play some defense, run the football, don't turn the football over. It'll beat the Falcons. It'll beat the Panthers. It'll beat maybe the Saints and maybe like the Chargers, those kinds of teams. It's going to be a tough ride for them to beat good teams. I'm going to say the Steelers beat the Ravens until I see the Ravens beat them and hang that game that they've wanted to hang on them for so long. But I was impressed there. Browns just pathetic, lifeless. Bengals have no physicality on offense.
We saw Burrow messing around with the wrist too a little bit. I saw the broadcast kind of picked that up. Somebody clipped it together on Twitter. That might not be 100% yet.
I don't think it like physically can be 100% yet. I don't think he has grip strength back still, but they have no physicality, man. They can't pound the ball. Like they're always in these. It feels like kind of like we were talking about the Ravens offense. Like there's no layups when you can't run the ball. And no one's scared of you running the ball. There's no layups in that Bengals offense. And we see Joe Mixon go into a physical Texans situation. Did they have some better weapons on the outside? Yes. Is the line maybe in a better spot? Sure. But Joe Mixon, he looks mighty physical. You get rid of him. Zach Moss can be a physical back, but I like to see Joe Mixon do what I think Joe Mixon's capable of doing on a football field in Houston. It was a huge part. I think he led the NFL in rushing week 1 probably. And made some huge plays in that one. So I'm just not feeling the bite on that Bengals offense. T. Higgins is out. Yeah, that's huge. He has a hamstring. Those linger like the cranberries forever. So we'll see. But the whip around the AFC North, nothing scary week 1 necessarily. And then the Bengals, I think last year was like, the Bengals, same deal. We start 1-2 or 0-3, and that's just what they do. And then they find the rhythm, and they just need to get in and all that stuff. I don't know, man. You don't really have a track record of doing that other than, kind of 1 year. They had a really good year and they go in and can't quite get it done against the Chiefs after they beat the brakes off the Bills in the playoffs in Buffalo a couple years ago. But Zach Taylor, man, I kind of look at him and like Doug Peterson as like, when are you going to bring the noise? Like are you going to evolve? Are you going to change? Are you going to branch out? Are you just going to keep running the same kind of shit, putting pressure on Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow to be the savior? Too much to ask. I mean, you're making Joe Burrow have to do trigonometry at the line every single time when you're not running the ball physically. So I don't know. I don't think here will be my, I guess, hot take. AFC North is not the best division in football this year. They're just not. We looked at that's always the moniker. Are they physical defensively? Yes. All those defenses we listed, the Browns, wore down. The Browns offense put them in shitty spots. Their defense played all right. They blew, I think, some of the Brandon Cooks early, but they had the punt return touchdown, things like that. But Browns still look physical. I don't know, man. I'm looking at maybe the NFC North if Jordan Love can stay healthy. I'm looking maybe at maybe the AFC South with those exciting young quarterbacks. I think that division's going to be competitive. Will Levis with the prayer after the stupidest play of the weekend, probably.
Surrender Cobra. Yeah.
I think Brian Callahan's comments after the game were we would have won if we punted the ball on first down every time.
That's an old Billick. We, take a fucking knee every snap.
Yeah, seriously. They played lights out, and then the Bears just got some gifts. Have the punt return, the stupid fucking underhand pick he threw, throwing the ball, like flicking his wrist like he's trying to, work on his wrist flexor, all that stuff. But yeah, fun weekend. Primetime games I thought were good all around. Last night, a little bit of a stinker, but it still brought some excitement. McCaffrey's out. What's going to happen? Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins with the Achilles. I think I tweeted and said, if either of those guys has to sprint, full sprint, or gets hit hard, they will just shatter. Aaron Rodgers does not look strong back there. So I'm looking at the Jets to be a 7-8 win team, looking at, the Falcons there, like, we'll see. And those guys coming back from the Achilles is tough. We'll see if they can play into shape a little, but man, oldest quarterbacks in the NFL. I heard during the Lions-Rams game, which was a fun one. The oldest quarterback in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers at 40, and Stafford, second oldest quarterback. The old guard's gone. Yeah. Rodgers is the last one. Stafford is like the old man at 36, which a couple short years ago was like Manning, Brady, Breeze, all these quarterbacks super old. So the next era is kind of here.
It certainly is. And it was on full display, like you said, fun slate. Sit back and watch some red zone with your team already having their game in the bag. That was enjoyable. But that will not be the case this weekend as the Ravens have their home opener, a 1 p.m., nice little comfy 1 p.m. time slot against the Raiders, which we'll be sure to get into with the preview on Thursday night, Friday morning. Anything else before we get out of here, pal?
No, fired up. Glad to be done with the food poisoning. I had some sciatica, some food poisoning, and I cranked my neck. Bad things come in threes, so hopefully we can rock and roll this way, get some film out. I had to get my formatting down to drop that Henry video, looking to hopefully drop a film video every Monday. With the Thursday game, maybe some of you guys lost a little bit of interest with it being a little later than the game itself. But drop some film on Monday. We're going to do these film breakdowns on Tuesdays, have some fun stuff coming up. We'll have the preview on Thursday night for the Raiders in the home opener. Take a look at the wily Gardner Minshew out there, who people are already calling for Aiden O'Connell, which, like you mentioned, Minshew was feisty in that game. The Ravens kind of shot themselves in the foot, but let's give Minshew a little time to see what he can do. I
don't think he looked horrible against the Chargers either. He was just a little overpowered, I think. The Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh in that building, they were winning that game 100 times out of 100. Ladd McConkey, what an awesome touchdown that was. Little Jackson-esque.
Shout out to Galileo, Jetpack Galileo. He was like, this is Emmanuel Sanders. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, it is.
Sure.
Shifty like that. J.K. Dobbins, rumbling, has some long runs there. Ran out of gas. He was like, I got to get back in shape. Good fucking job, J.K. Dobbins. Good for that dude, man. For all the injuries, all the bullshit. I like, this is so stupid and pathetic of me, but I think about him sometimes. I'll be like, God, poor dude probably thought he was going to make like $25 million plus in the NFL. Now he's, getting the minimum. I think he got a $50,000 signing bonus. When he was a rookie, plunging forward in 2020 and all that stuff, like you think like, oh, I'm set for years. Kind of like Jadeveon Clowney talked about. Like, I got that big contract, bought all the houses, and blew my knee out and told my mom to stop spending $1 because it's over, all that stuff. So I feel good for JK. I hope he's able to get it going in LA, make the Chargers run the ball well. Not a great showing for our boy Gus Edwards, but Dobbins looked electric, and I'm excited for him. I really hope he can stay healthy. I think about Dobbins a lot. I think about the alternate universe where he stays healthy and what that would have looked like. And I feel for him, man. I feel for J.K. Dobbins.
Yep, absolutely. But it was nice to see, and it was nice to see him. I wouldn't say nice to see, but it kind of called to mind some fun sort of, thoughts of him not being able to have that breakaway speed, kind of carrying that leg alongside him there with those dudes just chasing him down. It reminded me of that Steelers game where he's just running all heart, but he just can't get away from those guys because he's running with a straight leg, basically.
Next Gen Stats said he hit 19.5 miles per hour on one of his carries, and that was faster than Xavier Worthy on anything he ran. And he just, I think he just got winded. I think his body's like, okay. I think he just got winded.
It could be, because that's a win for the eye test there, because he got hawked down on one of those at least. But either way,
he definitely did. The breakaway speed is not what it used to be, but man, the contact balance, all that stuff was really fun to watch. So good for him. Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith getting identical 28 PFF grades. There's been some good hashtag discourse online about that.
Dan Orlovsky, Ravens miss him.
Yeah, the Ravens miss him. Ravens fans are saying he sucks. Steelers fans are saying PFF sucks. Football's back, baby. Football's back.
It is all the way back, and it was very enjoyable. And like we said, plenty more content to come throughout the week, and then we'll have the preview show on Thursday night. So we thank you guys for hanging with us here. We'll talk to you again then. Thank you to all our presenting sponsors: Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Fed Thrill Sunglasses, Clipper City Barber. We appreciate you all. We appreciate everyone listening. If you liked what you heard and saw, leave a like and a comment on all our videos. Pass the word around to a friend. Follow us on social media at Exit52 Podcast on Twitter. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny is at Ravens4Dummies. That is the number 4. You can follow Brian at Barstool Banks, Taylor at TaylorsMy10, and Eric at EDITTI22. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys again very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
There
Yes, sir.
it is.
Trust.
He's pretty
Big trust. Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir. Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.